2026. The global SUV market is divided into three distinct worlds: Japan, Germany, and Korea. They don't just build cars differently, they view time differently. One builds for the next 20 years, one builds for the next 3, and one builds for the next warranty claim. If you want to stop being a victim of the junk tsunami, you have to understand the philosophy behind the metal. Japan. The philosophy of caution, the forever car. If you look at the 2026 Toyota 4Runner or the Lexus LX600, you might find the infotainment system a bit behind the competition. The screens might be smaller and the tech might feel a generation old. To the casual reviewer, this is a flaw. To a master mechanic, this is a feature. Japan's automotive philosophy is rooted in material science and conservative engineering. Brands like Toyota, Lexus, and Honda view a vehicle as a 20-year asset. They are conservative to a fault. They only adopt a new technology, whether it's a turbocharger, a hybrid motor, or a digital dash, when it has been hardened and stress-tested for a decade in other markets. When Japan builds an engine, they aren't looking for the maximum possible horsepower from the smallest possible block. They are looking for thermal stability. They over-engineer the cooling jackets. They use higher-grade alloys in the cylinder heads, and they prioritize low-stress power. This is why a Japanese SUV might feel slow compared to its German rivals. It's because it isn't screaming to give you performance. It's breathing comfortably so it can do the same task 500 Zosenmai from now. In Japan, the wow factor is replaced by the start every time factor. Germany, the philosophy of the lease, high-performance fashion. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we have the Germans: BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Audi. If Japan builds for the 20-year owner, in Germany, an SUV like the 2026 BMW X5 or the Audi Q7 is a masterpiece of precision. It is designed to be the absolute best version of itself for the first 36 months. The driving dynamics are stunning. The highway stability is infinite. The interior feels like a masterpiece of industrial design, however. German engineering follows the philosophy of packaging over serviceability. To achieve that stunning performance, they cram twin turbos, high-pressure fuel systems, and miles of complex wiring into engine bays that have zero leftover air. They use plastic cooling components that are essentially ticking time bombs. Why? Because plastic is lighter and more efficient for the first 50,000 mi. In the German mindset, a car is a piece of high-performance fashion. You wear it for the duration of the lease, you enjoy the prestige, and the moment the warranty light flickers, you discard it. They aren't building a forever machine, they're building a right-now machine. If you own a German SUV past 100,000 mi in 2026, you aren't an owner. You're a subscriber to your mechanic's retirement fund. Korea, the philosophy of disruption, the Silicon Valley of cars. Finally, we have the disruptors Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis. Over the last decade, Korea has performed the greatest image pivot in automotive history. They have gone from building budget junk to building some of the most visually stunning SUVs on the road today. The Korean philosophy is simple: move fast and break things. They operate like a tech company. If Japan takes 10 years to adopt a screen, Korea takes 10 minutes. They offer 100,000 worth of luxury and tech for a 60,000 price tag. They are betting that you, the consumer, will be so dazzled by the stunning LED light bars and the remote park features that you won't notice where they've cut corners on the metallurgy. Korea uses a warranty-first engineering model. They know their engines and dual-clutch transmissions DCT have higher failure rates than the Japanese. Their solution, the 10-year 100,000-mile warranty. It's a brilliant marketing shield. It gives the consumer the courage to buy a mechanically inferior product because it's covered. The German complexity tax. If you want to see why your mechanic drives a 20-year-old Toyota while he spends all day fixing 2026 BMWs, you have to look at the peripherals. German engineering is defined by a complexity tax. Take the BMW 58 engine inline 6 found in the X5. Mechanically, the iron, the block and pistons is a masterpiece. It is arguably the best engine Germany has produced in a decade. But Germany doesn't just build an engine, they build an ecosystem of plastic. In a 2026 German SUV, the cooling system is a nightmare of quick connect plastic fittings and composite thermostat housings. Because these engines run at extremely high temperatures to burn off every milligram of emissions, that plastic is constantly being cooked. By year 5, the plastic becomes as brittle as a dry cracker. A 10 plastic connector snaps your coolant thermal vents in seconds. Torque and music are torn, and because German engines use thin, wall head castings to save weight, the head warps before you can even pull over. You aren't just paying for performance, you are paying a complexity tax for the privilege of driving a car where the most critical safety system, the one that keeps the engine from melting, is made of the same material as a disposable water bottle. The Japanese turbo transition. Is the forever engine dead? The biggest controversy in 2026 is the death of the Japanese 5.8. The 2026 Toyota 4Runner and the Land Cruiser 250 have officially ditched the old-school naturally aspirated engines for 0.4 turbocharged i4's power plants. The internet is screaming that Toyota has gone soft. But here is the mechanical truth. Not all turbos are created equal. While Germany uses turbos to squeeze stunning speed out of a luxury lease, Japan is using turbos to maintain forever durability under new EPA mandates. Toyota's 2.4L turbo is over-engineered in ways you won't see in a Korean or German equivalent scavenging oil pumps. Toyota utilizes specialized oiling systems that keep the turbo bearings lubricated even at extreme tilt angles or during high heat shutoffs. Integrated exhaust manifolds. By casting the manifold directly into the head and water cooling it, they've solved the thermal soak problem that used to kill turbos in 50,000 mi. Japan is proving that you can have a turbocharger without a 100,000 mi expiration date. They've replaced the displacement of the V8 with thermal management. It's still real metal engineering, just in a smaller package. The Korean warranty wall and the DCT disaster. Now we have to talk about Korea. If you look at a 2025 or 2026 Hyundai Santa Fe or Kia Sorento, you are looking at a masterclass in feature stuffing. But under that beautiful skin, Korea has been hitting a mechanical wall. For years, Korea pushed the dual-clutch transmission DCT. They told you it was sporty and efficient. In reality, it was a way to get stunning spec sheet numbers for a lower cost than a heavy-duty 8-speed automatic. But by 2026, the truth has come out. The metal couldn't keep up with the marketing. We've seen a massive surge in Korean DCT shuddering and failing in stop and go traffic because the clutches aren't designed for the weight of a 5,000 bus UV. In a stunning admission of defeat, Korea is quietly switching many of its 2026 models back to traditional torque converter automatics. Why? Because the 10-year warranty was starting to cost them too much money. Korea is excellent at software and perceived quality, but when it comes to the friction parts, the gears, the clutches, and the high-stress alloys, they are still playing catch-up with Japan. They build to the warranty wall, they ensure the car lasts 100,000 mi, but they don't lose sleep over what happens at mile 101. The showroom high versus the reality check. In the automotive world, there is a massive difference between what a car is worth when it's under the spotlights and what it's worth when the new car smell has been replaced by the smell of age, coffee, and road dust. Many buyers in 2026 choose an SUV based on the monthly payment, ignoring the single biggest expense of vehicle ownership, depreciation. The truth that dealerships hide is that the second-hand buyer is the ultimate judge of a car's engineering. When a car is 7 years old, the stunning ambient lighting doesn't matter anymore. The only thing that matters is, will this thing bankrupt me? This is where the financial bloodbath begins and the gap between Japan, Germany, and Korea becomes a canyon. The resale shield. If you look at the 2026 resale data for a 7-year-old Toyota 4Runner or Lexus GX Swam Musica Tour, the numbers are staggering. These vehicles often retain 60 to 70% of their original MSRP even after 100,000 mi. To the uninitiated, this seems like fanboyism. To the market, it is a resale shield. The second-hand buyer isn't looking for the fastest 0 to 60 time. They are looking for an asset, not a liability. Because Japanese SUVs are built with the 20-year philosophy we discussed earlier, the market knows that a 100,000-mile Land Cruiser or Pilot is just getting its second wind. There are no hidden 5,000 plastic cooling faders waiting in the shadows. When you buy Japanese, you aren't just buying a car, you're buying a check that you can cash in 7 years for nearly what you paid for it. It is the closest thing to a savings account on wheels in the automotive industry. The 70% collapse the German maintenance wall. Look at the German side of the ledger. Sorry, 2026 BMW X5 or an Audi Q7 is a technological marvel when it's new. But the moment that factory warranty expires at mile 50,000, these vehicles hit what mechanics call the maintenance wall. In the used market, a German SUV is viewed as a high-stakes gamble. The second-hand buyer knows about the complexity tax, the 3,000 sensor failures, the 4,000 air suspension leaks, and the engine-out labor costs for simple oil leaks. Because the cost of maintaining a 2026 German SUV is so astronomically high, the demand for them in the used market collapses. We are seeing a 70% price drop on some German luxury SUVs within the first 5 years. You might have bought that stunning Mercedes for 90,000, but by year 6 you'll be lucky to get 28,000 for it. You didn't own that car. You paid a 60,000 prestige fee to drive it during its trouble-free years. The German SUV is a depreciating liability that punishes anyone brave or foolish enough to hold the keys past the warranty. The Korean identity crisis, the 100-hour 1-mile gamble. Korea is currently facing a financial identity crisis. On one hand, they have the industry's best warranty, 10 years or 100,000 miles. On the other hand, the used market still views them with suspicion. The problem is the warranty transfer. In many regions, that legendary 100,000-mile warranty only applies to the first owner. When the car is sold, the warranty often drops to 5 years or 60,000 miles for the second owner. This creates a dead zone for Korean resale value. Buyers are increasingly wary of 100-hour 1-mile Kias. They've heard the stories about the warranty-first engineering shortcuts and the disposable tech mindset. While a Genesis, Korea's luxury brand, holds its value better than a standard Hyundai, it still can't touch the rock-solid stability of a Lexus. Korea is stuck in the middle. They are no longer cheap, but they aren't yet trusted. Until they prove their metal can outlast their marketing, their SUVs will continue to suffer from an identity crisis that costs the owner thousands at trade-in time. The subscription trap, pay-to-play performance. We've talked about the metal and the money, but in 2026 there is a new truth that is fundamentally changing what it means to own an SUV, the software paywall. For decades, if the hardware was in your car, you owned it. In 2026, that German manufacturers like BMW and Mercedes-Benz have led the charge here. We are seeing 2026 models with heated seats, adaptive headlights, and even four-wheel steering hardware already installed from the factory, but locked behind a digital lock. If you don't pay the $25 a month subscription fee, that hardware is just dead weight. Korea is watching closely. Hyundai and Kia have already begun experimenting with this in their 2026 EV and hybrid lineups, offering over-the-air performance boosts and infotainment apps as subscriptions. Japan for now is the holdout. Toyota and Honda are betting that their customers value total ownership over digital add-ons. The truth no one talks about is that your car is becoming a smartphone on wheels, and if your credit card expires, your car might literally become less capable overnight. Right to repair the 2026 battleground. As we sit here in mid-2026, we are at a crossroads for the independent mechanic. In Europe, the new Right to Repair directive has finally taken effect as of July 2026, forcing manufacturers to provide parts and software access to neighborhood shops. But in North America, the battle is still raging. The truth is that German and Korean SUVs are becoming increasingly closed systems. They use part pairing where a new component, like a headlight or a window motor, won't work unless it's digitally shook hands with the factory server. This effectively kills the dyer and the small-town shop. Only Japan continues to prioritize a repairable architecture, requires a proprietary factory link just to register a new battery. You can still service a 2026 Toyota 4Runner with a standard scan tool and a set of sockets. The 2026 verdict. Which one do you keep? After looking at the philosophies, the mechanical teardowns, and the financial bloodbath, here is the final authoritative verdict from the service bay. If you are buying a vehicle with your own hard-earned money and you plan to drive it for 10, 15 or 20 years Japanese, you can music a choice but chaz specifically look for the new 2026 Land Cruiser or the 4Runner. Yes, they have turbos now, but the iron and the cooling systems are still built to outlast you. It is the only region that still views the customer as an owner, not a user. If you want the stunning drive, the status, and the cutting-edge performance, lease German. Do not buy them. Enjoy the BMW X5 for 3 years, stay strictly within the warranty, and then give the keys back before the plastic complexity tax comes due. If you want the most tech for your dollar and you're terrified of repair bills, buy Korean. But here is the catch. Sell it at 99,000 mai. Use that 100,000 mai warranty as your safety net, but don't be there when the warranty wall hits. Korea builds a fantastic 10-year car, but they haven't yet mastered the 20-year machine. The world is moving toward disposable appliances. The 2026 UV market wants you to be a perpetual renter of technology, but by choosing the machine over the marketing, you can still find a vehicle that respects your wallet and your time. Stop buying the wow factor and start buying the metal. Because when the screens go dark and the subscriptions expire, the only thing that matters is, does it still run?